You're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. It's more fun to believe. Third year bonus. There is much to discuss. Welcome to the show. This is Ryan Singer, your friend, your pal. You are listening to the podcast, Me and Paranormal You. This is a 30-year bonus, which is there are no guests. Well, we don't know who might show up. People who have listened to this program for years know that sometimes guests do show up. They just kind of interrupt the program, which is, is it rude behavior, or do they have domain to do such a thing? I don't know. And who are they? And are they not just the same? And are we all not just connected? You've heard me say that before. The collective consciousness, we are all one. Therefore, your yacht is my yacht. No, I will not take my shoes off when I get on your boat. Excuse me, your yacht. I've debated with friends for many years about what the difference between a boat and a yacht is, and apparently it's running water. If you have running water on board, then it's a yacht, which seems weird that you would have running water on a boat that's surrounded by water, but then there's the whole saltwater issue. How do we not have mass-scale desalination at this point to prevent droughts? Is this an issue that is being addressed? Maybe I'm just going to devote the rest of my life to desalination. Desalination? Yeah, I don't like sailboats. Nobody's allowed to have a sailboat. Desalination in this nation. I'm going to desail this nation. No more bows and sterns or starboard and port kind of things. I don't sail, never will, never have. Don't care for it. If you're a sailor, good for you. I guess. Motion sickness. I suffer motion sickness very badly. I'm not going to be making a life on the ocean, as romantic as it does sound, because there's a romantic notion about it, certainly. It's the same as life on the road. I love life on the road. Life on the ocean waves? No, thank you. Even life on the lake waves? No, thank you. If you've ever been on a big lake, those waves can be quite daunting. Gordon Lightfoot wrote a whole song about, the Edmund Fitzgerald. That was a big ship that was destroyed by a storm on, I think it was Lake Michigan, potentially. Anyway, what are we even talking about? There's a lot to discuss. I'm currently reading the book UFO of God, written by Chris Bledsoe. It's about Chris Bledsoe's life. It's the story of Chris Bledsoe. I do believe someone maybe helped write, but that's not it. What's important is it's the story of Chris Bledsoe's life, which is an amazing story. He's on an episode of Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, which I watched when I was in Florida visiting my friends Bill and Carolyn at that, for me, at least what it is for me, an infamous location. BT Dubs, by the way, if you are curious about, you hear me talk about Bill and Carolyn in this Florida location constantly. I'm referencing it a lot because my trips down to Florida are going to seemingly be increasing in rapid fashion very soon. Some exciting projects on the horizon, as long as I'm not too much of a scaredy cat. Who was that? That was the paranormal scaredy cat? Was that who came in? Yeah, I get scared real easy about paranormal stuff. Okay, we don't need a new character busting down the gates right now. But I'm just a scaredy cat of paranormal. Okay, we get it. You don't like being scared. Neither do I. But I get scared all the time. I know you do. Trust me, because you live inside of me, and therefore I am also terrified constantly. If this is the first time you're listening to the program, this is standard fare. Here's the Cliff Notes. Many, many years ago, I dated a woman who could shapeshift. I witnessed it on 2 different occasions. You can listen to the interview I never thought would happen. It's Experience 76. Just search interview with a shapeshifter, Ryan Singer, on the internet. It will come up. fascinating interview. Probably the most talked about and most inquired about episode of the podcast, other than when I smoked DMT for the first time on the podcast as well with my buddy Shane Moss. So that episode is available to listen to that interview. I'm a weirdo. A few years ago, 4 years ago, went to Florida, excuse me, on a paranormal expedition to make a documentary with my friends Ed Brown, Dan Lindholm, and many more, who are Bigfoot, well known in the Bigfoot community. Big Truth is their kind of moniker. So you can search on YouTube and you can find a ton of videos under Big Truth. And just go to YouTube, type in Big Truth, Bigfoot. Maybe Big Truth, one word, right? And you'll find a bunch of their videos over the years. I go down there. I have the absolute goodness. I don't know. I'm using clean language tonight. I made a choice before. I was like, can you not say bad words? So that's what I'm doing tonight. And I love bad words. It shows it's actually people who curse. It's been proven to have a higher level of intelligence. So now I just say the F word every other word just to try to make people think I'm smart. Anyway, by the way, there's no S on the end of anyway. Never has been, never will be. But words change. The English language is an organism. It lives, it grows, it adapts, it evolves. I have to stop being a curmudgeon. Florida, 4 years ago, had the goodness scared out of me. You can go back and you can search, I believe it's something along the lines of my encounter with a Sasquatch or something, I think is what I called the episode. It's roughly 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago. So just, you can search all 700 plus episodes of this podcast are available for free. No paywall, none of that stuff. Now you do get advertisement free episodes if you go to the patreon.com/Ryan Singer page. $3 a month gets you no commercials, nonetheless. So those are the cliff notes. I've had multiple paranormal experiences. I do paranormal investigations quite regularly. I have the first couple episodes of my paranormal documentary series it's a passion project. I can only work on it so much when I get around to it, when I have time, when I'm not traveling, doing stand-up comedy. That's what I've been doing for 22 years. Can you believe it? You've never heard of me, yet here I am, surviving, making a living, doing the thing I love the most, telling jokes to strangers in places where people get drunk, and investigating the curious and the unknown. What a life. I could die tomorrow. Don't plan on it, but I could. I made it. I did it. Case closed. So I'm going back to Florida a bunch more times. This is a location where I had the goodness scared out of me. And I can update you more later once things become firm or more clear. Lord knows I don't have enough projects going on simultaneously. Other things that hopefully I'll be able to announce as well. One of them being, will I ever live somewhere again? I do not know if I'm ever going to have a brick and mortar place where I am living again. Who knows? Let's see if I can ever get around to taking care of that part of my life. But right now, I'm just enjoying being on the float. So, UFO of God, written by Chris Bledsoe. I'm about halfway finished with the book. Hopefully, I'll be able to knock out a big chunk of it again tonight when I'm finished recording and editing and getting ready to this. This is going to go up tomorrow. So we're at the very end of August. So hopefully next week, and when I'm in, North Carolina, I can see people at my comedy shows in Wilmington on the 6th, and then Asheville, North Carolina on the 8th, and then Charlotte Comedy Festival on the 9th and 10th. And then I'll be in San Francisco on the 19th of September. It's a Tuesday night. Please come to that show if you live anywhere close to Northern California. If there's 12 people in the audience, I might not make it out of Northern California without just, consuming myself into a vineyard somewhere, just drinking myself into the vines. Nonetheless, this book is incredible so far. This book is welcoming, it's inviting, it's easy to read, it's easy to understand. It does a great job of developing empathy and feelings for the protagonist, which is Chris Bledsoe, and his family, and others like him. By default, I believe we grow our empathy for those who have been in similar situations. And my friend Carolyn in Florida, it's the parallels between these people are mind-blowing. I hope to be able to get Chris on the program at some point soon. I think he's done he's done a lot of podcasts, I think. So hopefully he'll be open to it. I want to finish the book before I interview him, of course, so I can be completely informed on his story. And I've been taking notes, and it's such a good book. UFO of God is the name of it. So here we are. There's something that is a theme in this book without being a theme. It's something that stands out to me. It stands out to me about Chris. It stands out to me about many people I know in the paranormal world. And I've touched on this a little bit. I don't think I've tried to crystallize the vision or the formula or the theory or whatever we want to call it, the idea. But basically, it boils down to this. People who have experienced trauma or people who also have experienced trauma in addition to autoimmune disorders is key here as well. Or an autoimmune disorder and or a mystery illness that is around for a very long time without being diagnosable. There is prolonged, I guess you could call it trauma, that people experience with ambiguity surrounding it. Now, does that sound familiar? Does that sound like we're talking about, I'm just making this connection now, actually, so I'm asking myself, does it sound familiar to something else? Experiencing long-form trauma and not understanding how or why it's there. That sounds a lot like paranormal trauma when it comes to abductions and people who are taken and experience other things in that realm. Wow. Okay, so we're formulating this on the fly here, and it already seems to be becoming more solid pretty quickly there, actually. I believe this connection is one of the keys to people who experience an intense level of paranormal abilities. I say this because of for over 9.5 years, almost 10 years, I've been doing this show. I've been conducting interviews with people with paranormal experiences of all kinds, esoteric experiences, and just weird experiences, psychedelic experiences, etc. Anything outside the scope of normal is what I like to believe paranormal is. What is accepted as normal in mainstream society, which is changing, by the way. So, I mean, maybe the parameters of paranormal is changing as well. So, what I've noticed, and it only took me 9.5, 10 years to devote an episode to it, apparently. People who experience long-form illness of an unexplainable nature, or there's an ambiguity about what they're suffering, and they can't find answers. Those people also tend to have the gift of high-level paranormal ability, whether it is ESP, psychic abilities of any kind, clairaudience, clairvoyance, dreams that are precognitive. We're talking about unlocking and having a passport to astral travel in ways that most people wish they could. We're talking about psychokinetic abilities. We're talking about being able to affect the physical environment separate, or at least with the illusion of separation from our physical body, in the environment surrounding us with our mind, our consciousness, our energy. That is what I think most people would agree, quote unquote, wild stuff. And by wild stuff, I mean cool stuff. But here's the catch. A lot of people have no idea how to control it. And, the handful of people that I know that are at this level of unexplainable phenomena seemingly emanating from them, they are the eye of the paranormal storm, so to speak, even though I don't like the negative connotation that has, because I don't think it's a negative connotation. There shouldn't be a negative connotation to this. They don't understand, at least anywhere close to fully understand. And the commonality between these people that I'm discovering is long-term physical ailments, undiagnosable conditions, diseases of the autoimmune variety. These things all seem to be at play. And I wish on top of that, outside trauma of all varieties, tragic death of people very close to them, unexpected death. We're talking about children. We're talking about, children shouldn't die before parents. I think all of us kind of just believe that, right? And kind of understand this. Like that's not that we don't want that to be the natural order of things. So we're talking about emotional trauma. We're talking about physical trauma. We're talking about illness, long-term suffering, ambiguity around what it is that's affecting them in such a negative way, their emotions, their health, their physical body, whether, abductions and or diseases or conditions. And then even when they are diagnosed, coupled with extreme trauma over years, what you have, and then we're talking emotional and physical trauma here as well, what you have here is you have a cocktail of, effects or, ingredients that, in my opinion, for whatever reason, are unlocking some great access or much more accessible energy of the paranormal mind, or to the paranormal mind, or the psychokinetic and the psychic and the clairvoyant and the astral traveling, the dream world, we talk about human beings creating portals. I have talked about that before. There was probably a period of like a couple months where that's all I wanted to talk about, because I believe that is true. And couple this new theory I'm working on that, who knows, probably is a theory by someone already. I'm not over here trying to say that I just came up with this, but I haven't read anything that has talked about this, at least in a very specific, very clear way anyway, about this, the ambiguous nature of suffering and coupled with trauma, creating incredible paranormal abilities. Couple that, with the world becoming more awakening to the reality of these things and the truth and the possibility of these things, more people sharing their stories. It seems to be more out in the open. Therefore, it's less hidden, and I think the phenomena itself feels like it must hide less as a result, potentially. So you've got a lot going on, right? And then, not to mention, I believe that portals are sentient, and as far as I know, I don't know if anybody else out there is saying that, and I'm not a scientist, and and in no way can I tell you this is why I believe scientifically that portals are sentient and have sentience, have their own heightened, independent intelligence. Have I seen a portal? Have I walked through a portal? Well, I have not walked through a portal. Have I seen a portal? Potentially, not sure. I've been where a portal is. That's for damn sure. I didn't see some cosmic doorway open up while I was there. Nonetheless, enough people talk about portals and enough people eyewitness accounts of portals, and this is before portals became the buzzword. Because let's be honest, portals are the buzzword right now. That's all. All the shows now, all of a sudden in the last year, are talking about portals. Everybody's talking about portals. There's portals everywhere, right? Everybody's got a portal now, and that doesn't mean that there aren't portals everywhere. It just means everybody seems to be on the portal train right now. So toot toot on the portal train. Here we go. Buckle up. Portals are sentient. I will throw that out there just as an idea for maybe you to think about and muse about. I'm already fully on board, and I already believe it. I already believe that portals are sentient, and I don't need to be convinced that they are through science, which is exactly what something who's a woo-woo kind of ungrounded woo-woo foo-foo would say. But I don't need to see the science on it quite yet, because we don't have the science anyway to even do that. But we can get more into this. I am going to take a quick break. I don't know how long this is going to go, so I better break now for a quick, couple commercials to keep the lights on in my car as I live out of my car for the foreseeable future, I suppose, unless I end up buying a house. And, I can tell you about that later. Just as a reminder, you can go to patreon.com/Ryan Singer, and you won't have to hear those commercials you just heard. I usually put the episodes up at the very least the night before. Sometimes I put them up the day of, and I forget, or sometimes I forget, and they come out like the night, the day, maybe at the most a day later, hopefully. Anyway, portals move. Portals move. Portals have an awareness. Portals can be evasive, according to reports. I believe that portals, like I said, are sentient. That's what we were talking about. Now that we're back from commercial, I think this portal over here, his name is Stan. This portal over here could be Deborah. They might as well have names. Do they have different personalities? Well, that's, I think, ascribing human characteristics to a high level of sentience that I don't think is necessary, or consciousness, rather. Potentially they do have personalities. I'm not saying they don't, but there are reports of portals moving, being evasive, being elusive, not wanting to be found. And to me, that speaks to clear, intelligent, and independent thinking. It's intelligent and independent thinking. It is an awareness. It has an awareness of its surroundings, or they have an awareness of their surroundings, potentially making it either possible or impossible for people or other things to travel in and or out or through them. Think about it. Think about that. You could find a portal, but will the portal even let you through? I'm not so sure it would. Now, this really has the Sphinxes and the never-ending story vibes to it. The portal will look inside of your soul and see what you're really made of and see what your true intent is. And if it's just to try to, capture something on camera so you could be famous and make money on the internet or some TV show, maybe the portal's not going to let you through and it'll zap you. I don't necessarily, I'm not going to go that far and start acting like this is the never-ending story kind of portal, right? But because, the Sphinxes were a gateway. They're a highly intelligent gateway that would make value and moral judgments upon the person who thought they were worthy to pass through. Maybe it's like being president. The person who doesn't want to be president is the person we need to be president. And everyone else who wants to be president is actually the worst type of person to be president of any country. Okay. So portals are sentient. Potentially, this means, as we play this out, like I said, they're making decisions about what or who can go in or pass through or come out, etc. What are the implications of that? That means that there's a system, right? There's a measuring system that would seem to indicate passage or not passage. And so what are the characteristics, or what are the things on the checklist that must be marked off for one to move from the non-passable to the passable side, like to get a ticket to go through? Are there seriously tickets? You have to qualify for a ticket. Do you have to be I don't think it makes me wonder if there's some kind of moral judgment here. And many times as a kid, I really wrestled with morality as far as the laws and where the universal laws of morality came from, being raised in a Catholic church and a Catholic religion. These morals and moralities came from God, right? Came from God's mouth to the rest of us. And I was very interested in I wanted to potentially study philosophy in college, and I ended up not doing that. I was also interested in political science for quite a while when I was younger. Thank God I didn't go that route as far as my studies go. But so where I do think that with the removal of a Godhead, a God figure, you still can have universal laws of morality. And these universal laws of morality are the same as the mathematical laws of the universe. So you have moral laws of the universe, much in the same way you have scientific and mathematical laws of the universe that have just always been there. And then once we discovered them, we started trying to ascribe a nature to them, or a source, or a personality to them. And then obviously I believe that they became distorted over time and expanded for personal gain, et cetera, to ensure, power structures could become more powerful and stay in place, etc. I do believe that there are moral laws of the universe, the same way that there are mathematical and scientific. Okay, so we've got that. I'm repeating it myself so I know where I'm even at in this conversation I'm having with you, with myself, because you're not here yet, but I'm talking to you in my future, but your past. Does that make sense? This is why we're all time traveling. Do you understand why time means nothing now? Time has never meant anything. What? Who was that? Was that a Time Lord? We're not even gonna open the book or open the hatch to even start talking about potentially having Time Lords hanging around. But I'm not a Time Lord. I know you're not because we're not. This Time Lords aren't on this show. That's a whole different thing. That's a whole different genre. Well, I don't know about genre, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I'm so scared of time. Okay, paranormal scaredy cat, and this pseudo Time Lord cannot be interrupting the program at this time. I am turning from side to side in this swivel chair as I'm doing these characters. I hope you understand how much I'm committing to the bits. I'll stop because I feel like we're on a good run here with something pretty interesting and actually kind of serious, I guess. But I feel like we're on a good run here. I'm on a good run. I'm having fun talking about this because a lot of it I'm thinking out loud for the first time about this stuff. Okay, I don't have all these things written down. I hit record and I talk for an hour, and then I guess maybe some people like that, some people don't. Hey, that's for them to decide. So you have universal laws of morality, science, and math. I believe that the moral laws, they are intertwined with the scientific and with the mathematical in some way. They rely upon one another. They are one altogether, operating, intermingling. I think we can understand the benefit of moral laws because the moral laws stem from this idea. There's certain things that we just inherently know in our, dare I say, in our heart. I think when we talk about that, I think when we say, I just feel it in my heart, I feel that might be possible, but it's a mirroring effect. You feel it in your consciousness, but your heart, your physical heart, does have brain cells in it. So that is interesting. and we've gotten into this in the past. I don't want to go into this whole thing again because I'd have to do another deep dive on it to refresh myself. But so when you think with your heart, there's actually something to that saying. That's intuition. That is human intuition, understanding that there is an aspect of thinking with one's heart, right? Long before scientists discovered that there were brain cells in the human heart. And if all of this is BS, I hope someone emails and be like, you know what, that was debunked. That's not debunked. It's just a real thing. It's not debunkable. Anyway, so I feel myself sliding into a Columbo, and I'm not going to do it. So it's debunkable. I did it. And I'm a hypocrite in everything I say. You always have been. Okay, thank you, Columbo. Please go sit with the faux Time Lord and Paranormal Scaredy Cat, and we'll talk to you later. Hey, man, I want to see what's going on. No, Todd, it's not a party. We're not having a character party on the episode. Maybe another episode in the future, we'll have a character party. If I can even remember who these characters are. Hey, man, you just had to go back and listen, man. Okay, Todd, I'm not going to do that right now. Because we're recording right now, okay? Okay, man. Whoa, dude. Thank you, Todd. I believe that the moral laws of the universe have been discovered over time. We put personality and names to them and then distorted them, like I said. But I think they're obvious because of their benefits to the whole, to the group. And if you ever watch the movie Beautiful Mind, this reminds me of the Beautiful Mind now. It's like, the betterment of the flock provides for the individual, right? So the individual is better off when the group is better off. And the example they used in that movie, he was looking at birds in the grass, right? And he figured out that's how they were going to try to pick up, that's how him and his buddies were going to try to meet women, right? Or something. They were all going to, instead of competing, they were all going to help each other. And then everyone was going to come out on top or whatever. I have to watch that movie again. It's been years, but essentially that I think is what I'm talking about here is the moral laws of the universe over time were discovered because they benefited the group, not just the individual. The selflessness of an individual benefiting the group, therefore benefiting themselves because they are part of that same group. Now, in the movie Beautiful Mind, that was represented in a mathematical way. That is why I think I can say, without being the biggest woo-woo monster in the world, that moral laws of the universe are intertwined with mathematical laws of the universe, if that makes sense. And I think it does on some level. So we have these moral laws, we have these mathematical laws, we have these scientific laws, right? So, and then we also have these there's all kinds of laws going around in society and et cetera. There's different types. So what one must ask themselves, I had no idea I didn't know what words were coming next in that sentence. I started with what, and then I said one, and I said, okay, well, this could turn into a question, or this could turn into a statement, or half question, half statement. I had no idea where I was going. Now I remember, because the paranormal train is back on the track. Do sentient portals take into account the moral laws of the universe when trying to decide if something or someone is able to access them and what they are capable of providing? The services therein which they provide. What services therein? No, we're not having some creepy butler show up. But the services therein which we provide may be easily accessible to those who have a high moral standard. Okay, this is out of control now. Okay, everybody, take a seat on the podcast couch. We'll get to you one at a time, another time. Very good. Okay, so here we are. Do the sentient portals... Do they? No. Bring it back. Reel that tongue in. Bring it back. My voice. Doing my voice. I don't have the creative juice to create another new character suddenly on the spot. I can't keep track of the 4 that have been here already. We've got Todd, Creepy Butler, Faux Time Lord, and Paranormal Scaredy Cat. That's as many as I can remember right now, and I won't remember any of them by tomorrow. That is something interesting that happens. People will be like, oh, blah, 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 on the thing, and I'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I can't remember. Hopefully I'll remember what I said on this episode, because I feel like we're getting into some good stuff. So we're kind of hashing it out. We're doing the work. Whoa. Back away from the microphone. We're not doing another character. We're doing the work here tonight. We're doing the work. I really hope this might be your first time ever listening to the show. You're getting kind of like the whole vibe here. If so, if this is the first time listening to the podcast, God, universe bless you. May Odin welcome you to Valhalla with open arms and a shiny sword. So, it is curious to think that portals may be making decisions and value judgments upon who or what or which may try to access them, or will they, one could go looking for them, and if they're not checking off the boxes, the portal will never make itself known or will never open up to that person or that thing, right? Potentially. I don't know. Or can they just be doorways? I think that is the question. Are they simply doorways? Am I overestimating the magic and the wonder of what portals actually are? I don't think the answer is that simple. This is why I think I'm onto something, potentially, because it's fun to think about. And science fiction writers were predicting the future of science and things like that, decades and decades and decades ago. It doesn't mean I'm right. I'm just saying this is fun to think about. Do you hear that noise? Anyway, I hear it. It's gone. It's so quiet where I am right now. This turned into a spooky situation real fast just now. Nothing to see here. Move on. I am where I am right now. I am by myself. I am alone, and it's dark. This does not mean that Paranormal Scaredy Cat should come over and start talking about how scared we might be getting here in a minute. The point is this: I think, maybe, possibly, if there even is a point, which there never is, which makes existence beautiful, not dismal, but beautiful. The pointless nature of all things. There are types of portals. That's what we're getting at. I was just trying to be too flowery and kind of teasing it out. But I think the answer to this would be that there are types of portals, much like there's types of people, or there's types of cars, there's types of buildings, there's types of everything that is a thing has types of that thing. So I think portals potentially also have different forms in which they exist. We have mannequins that look like human beings. They serve a practical purpose. Are there portals that are created merely for a practical purpose? Much in the same way. Honestly, I have no idea how we got to a human to a mannequin to a portal comparison here, but let's just go with it because I think it's fun. I think it's fun. Will you join me on this? As I think it's fun. I don't know. That one sounded like the faux Time Lord and the creepy butler had a baby, and the baby showed up after it was fully grown. Nonetheless, I think there's probably types of portals. Some of them are more practical, and some of them are like high-level sentience. So, is it possible to stumble upon a portal and anything could go through that portal? Probably, maybe, yes. Probably, maybe, definitely so. Maybe, kind of, but for sure. Was that ambiguous enough? I mean, that's kind of onomatopoeic, right? Ding, ding, ding. We're doing it again. Oh, God, I love when I can do this, when I can expand the definition of onomatopoeia in a way that I believe is a truth and a reality of our universe. But there are some out there, and you know who you are, that don't like when I do this. But it's very onomatopoeic for me to be ambiguous about defining a thing that has an ambiguity built into it. Ambiguity built into it. So I think it's probably definitely a possibility that there are different types, forms of portals. And some of them are high level sentient and will be elusive and will avoid you and potentially even take into account the moral laws of the universe. Now, what are the moral laws of the universe, you might be asking yourself and saying, Ryan, well, if you believe in these moral laws of the universe so gosh darn much, why don't you tell us what they are? Well, that's interesting, and maybe I'll do that right when we get back. I'm going to probably have to do a couple commercials. If we're going to get into the moral laws of the universe, this is probably going to go longer than the 45 minutes I was planning on. I could do a two-parter. We're not going to do that. Patreon.com/Ryan Singer. Let's do a quick break. And we're back. We're getting ready to discuss, and we're getting ready to break down for the first time ever what the exact moral laws of the universe are according to the portal gods. Well, of course, I'm being facetious. I think, in general, the moral laws of the universe can be found and can be acknowledged, or they are easily recognizable because they have been boiled down into the main tenets, into the perennial philosophy. Oh, gosh. Do you remember, if you listen to the program, there was a time where I was just really into the perennial philosophy because I had just learned about it, even though it's a thing that obviously I think everyone should learn about at a young age. But the perennial philosophy, oh, what an amazing, fun thing. And also, you can get into the Theosophical Society. All you have to do is pay them a little bit of money. You can get into the Philosophical Research Society. All you got to do is pay them a little money. You can get into the American Parapsychology Research Society, ASPR. I'm forgetting all the acronyms and the order of the words. The point is, the perennial philosophy is it's outright present in many, but it's hidden a little deeper. You have to peel back a little bit of layers. In other organizations, other groups that are kind of intellectually founded, or are groups that are collectively through a mission statement and a purpose, searching for an ultimate truth of the universe. And I think the perennial philosophy is there. Just sometimes it's a bright light and sometimes it's a dim little light in the shadows, but that's there, and it's hanging out for all to see. So I think the perennial philosophy, which has expounded itself in many forms in different religions across the earth. You have the basic tenet, basic rule of do unto others as you would do unto yourself, things like this, right? Like that's a big one. That's the big one that I think almost everybody's on board with. Unless you're a Satan worshiper, I suppose. I was just having an interesting conversation about people who worship Satan worshipers, which is different than Satanists. Big difference. And we were just, I'm going to withhold judgment here, okay? I'm going to stop myself from just speaking out of school on this. Because first of all, to the best of my knowledge, I do not know a Satan worshiper. Also, to the best of my knowledge, I've never even just met a Satan worshiper, because I don't think Satan worshipers are out there telling everybody they're worshiping the Dark Lord or worshiping Satan, which is different than being a Satanist, about, the people who are into individuality, things like that, as opposed to like worshiping, the fallen angel, the Dark Lord. Now, if there is someone who is a Satan worshiper, that would be an interesting conversation. I have lots of questions, and I would be curious to talk to that person. And with anonymity, of course. If you wanted to come on the program, we could do it in an anonymous way, of course. And I just wonder how you could. I don't wonder what it even all really truly means to be a Satan worshiper. Because my very God, what's the word? Ignorant understanding of what it means to be a Satan worshiper would be, which is exactly what someone who actually worships Satan would say. I'm like, I don't even know what it means. No, I assure you, I do not worship Satan. But to me, it's someone who worships the evil, dark, in the darkness, and the dark energy of the world, and would do anything, and it is into like the deadly, the 7 deadly sins, I suppose. Maybe they embrace sin as opposed to love and compassion, or like the perennial philosophy, maybe, or treat others as you treat yourself. That's like their number one thing they don't want to do, that they don't believe in. They're trying to smash that, maybe. Who knows? But if you're a Satan worshiper and you want to come on the program, I would be interested to have that conversation. I don't know. Would I be promoting worshiping the devil if I did that? I don't think so. Would you have Alex Jones or a Satan worshiper on your show? Which one would you have on your podcast? Which one would you give a forum to? Well, I kind of know what Alex Jones is all about. I really don't. I'm a lot more ignorant on Satan worshipers. I think, I might even go as far to say I'd have a Satan worshiper on before I'd have Alex Jones. So, okay, so what were we talking about? We were talking about sentient portals. We're talking about the moral laws of the universe, if in fact they are real, and I know I believe they are. So, when it comes to defining the moral laws of the universe, I don't think I'm your guy. I don't think I'm the person to do that, but I can look to history, and I can look to the founding principles of many of the very interesting and fascinating groups and organizations that are dedicated to the pursuit of thought and understanding the truths of the universe. One might say esoteric societies, like the Theosophical Society or the Philosophical Research Society. Those are 2 great examples. And I can tell you this, that there is something about service and there is something about selflessness that are core, that are fundamentals. They're the fundamental tenets of the moral laws of the universe. And that's coming from a person who does not do nearly enough service. I can admit that to you. How often am I volunteering? How often am I, being selfless in all the things I do? It's painstakingly obvious that I'm failing in many ways in this area. And these are areas where there is so much improvement available that is exciting to think about that. Think about how much better you could be at that. For me, that's an exciting prospect. So I want to see a portal. I stop myself short of saying I desperately want to see a portal, because I'm not going to try to be too desperate. I'm not going to trying to be thirsty out here for portals, okay? Because I think that's the wrong way for me to see a portal, is to be thirsty about a portal. I really do want to see a portal because the idea of them fascinate me. I'd love to be able to study a portal. I'd love to be able to have a better understanding of what they might even mean and be, and who they are. Potentially who they are, what they are, and who they are. I'd love to communicate with a portal. In fact, I might start doing that. I might start in my meditations, at least somewhat regularly, as long as I can regularly meditate. I might try to communicate to portals. People call them their spirit guides. What if my spirit guide is just this really cool portal? How amazing would that be? So I'm going to start trying to communicate to and or with portals during meditation. If you'd like to join me, I'd love to hear your experience with it. You can reach me on social medias at Rai Singh on Instagram or at Me and Paranormal You on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok, but I mean, let's be honest, I don't really post much on TikTok, but I'm on there. But Rai Singh on Instagram and Me and Paranormal You are probably the best ways to get a hold of me, even though I see the end of my days on Instagram. It's not nearly as enjoyable as it used to be. Every other post is an advertisement, and I'm slowly but surely moving away from enjoying the platform, the visual platform that is Instagram. Maybe that'll change, maybe it won't. But I'm not getting on Threads, won't be on Threads. I'm on Twitter. There's one very specific reason I cannot delete Twitter. I'll tease it with you now because I don't have an answer to this question yet. But I may be communicating and have been in touch with, at the very least, someone who claims to be from the future. We have had a ongoing, very sporadic conversation, and I know some of you might be thinking this is ridiculous. And you may be right. But I cannot delete Twitter until I know. And I will tell you this, this is a good reminder to self. I need to see if they'll come on the podcast. It seems, just from the conversations we've had up to this point, it seems unlikely. It seems like it wouldn't be a situation that would end well for them. But who knows? Stranger things have happened for sure. But that's the one reason I'm on. I mean, is that just the most Ryan Singer answer ever? I can't delete Twitter because I'm chatting with a person from the future on there. It's the only way I know how to communicate with them. I love you. I hope you love yourself. Thank you for listening. And if this was the first time you ever listened to the program, who knows? Maybe you'll listen a second time. Got great interviews coming up. Simon Brewer, the storm chaser, was last week's episode. Man, what a fun. He was down in Florida this morning trying to document the Hurricane Ida. I believe it was Ida or Adalia, or I can't remember. So I haven't heard from him tonight, but I think he's doing well and he's safe, out of harm's way. I will keep you posted if he gets me to go chase a tornado with him, which he's trying to get me to go do. So I feel like I have to go do that. I feel like I'd be in safe hands with one of the world's best storm chasers, Simon Brewer. You can listen to that interview. That was last week's interview, so go check that out. Tour dates, RyanSingerComedy.com, San Francisco, September 19th. That's a Tuesday night, one night only, baby. One of the best clubs in the history of stand-up comedy. Come see me headline that club, one night only. I'd love to see you there. And then more news and updates coming soon, RyanSingerComedy.com. The website's got everything you need over on the site. So watch the special if you haven't watched it. Share it with friends. The Supernatural, filmed in a haunted school. Give me a follow. Spread the news about the special. Get the word out there. I love you, and I hope you love yourself. And if I don't see you at a show, I'll see you at the watering hole on the astral plane.